In 2021, this company was worth $6 billion. 15 million people had mailed it their DNA. 4 years later, it was bankrupt, and the genetic codes of every customer were up for auction. The woman who let it happen had a plan. She bought it back herself for 5% of what it used to be worth. This is how Anne Wojcicki destroyed 23andMe, then walked away owning everyone's genome. If you ever spit in a 23andMe tube, your ancestry, your health risks, the names of your relatives, none of that is yours anymore. It belongs to a nonprofit that didn't exist 18 months ago, run by the same woman who watched the company collapse from inside the boardroom. To understand how this happened, you need one number. Not 6 billion, not 15 million, a single percentage. 49. That number broke the company, and the woman who controlled it knew exactly what she was doing. 2006. 3 co-founders launch a company that promises to democratize genetics. By 2009, 2 of them are gone. The one who remains, Anne Wojcicki, is married to Sergey Brin, co-founder of Google. That marriage is why Google quietly invests $3.9 million in the company 2 years earlier, before anyone outside Silicon Valley has heard the name 23andMe. From the start, Wojcicki controls everything. June 2021. The company goes public through a SPAC merger, backed by billionaire Richard Branson. The market cap hits $6 billion at its peak. Time magazine calls it Invention of the Year. 15 million customers have mailed their saliva to its labs, the largest private genetic database in the world. There's just one problem. The company has never made a profit. Because a customer buys one DNA kit. That's it. No subscription, no second purchase, no recurring revenue. So Wojcicki bets $400 million on a telemedicine company called Lemonade, hoping to turn DNA tests into a recurring health business. Customers don't bite. The crossover never happens. By 2024, the company is losing $667 million a year. That's almost $2 million a day. Every day. Then comes April 2023. Hackers breach 23andMe. They access the data of 6.9 million users. Ancestry, health predispositions, family connections. The company doesn't notice for 5 months. By the time anyone realizes, the genetic profiles of half the customer base are already circulating online. But the data breach wasn't the real crime. The real crime was about to begin, inside the boardroom. To put 15 million in perspective, that's more people than live in the entire state of Pennsylvania. Every one of them mailed their genetic code to a company they trusted. By the end of 2024, every one of them would lose control of it. September 2024. The company agrees to pay $30 million to settle the class action lawsuit from the breach. The stock has crashed 98% from its peak. The company is dying, and Wojcicki has a plan. She wants to take 23andMe private at a price she controls, and she informs the board of something unusual. She will not accept any third-party bids. Here's why she could say that. Wojcicki owns roughly 20% of 23andMe shares, but because of a dual-class structure locked in before the IPO, her shares carry 10 votes each. Regular shares carry 1. The math gives her 49.75% of every vote. That kind of structure is standard in Silicon Valley. The difference is how she used it. She used it to block every outside rescue, while trying to buy her own company at a fraction of its value. Corporate governance expert Charles Elson calls that a classic conflict of interest transaction. Her offer to the board, 40 cents per share. Total valuation, about $11 million. The price of a single Manhattan condo. For a company that once held the genetic data of 15 million people. For context, 23andMe had spent $400 million on Lemonade alone. Her offer for the entire company was 40 times less than what they paid for that one acquisition. The board rejects it. September 17th, 2024. All 7 independent directors resign on the same day, in a single letter, including Roloff Botha of Sequoia Capital, including Neil Mohan, CEO of YouTube. Their words: "After months of work, we still haven't received an actionable proposal in the interest of shareholders." Translation: "We can't do our job, so we leave." 7 directors gone, 1 CEO remaining, a company worth $6 billion at its peak, now valued at $50 million, and nothing standing between Anne Wojcicki and the final days of 23andMe. Now, if you're thinking, this can't be legal, you're right to ask. But here's what makes this story so unsettling. Everything Anne Wojcicki did was perfectly legal. The dual-class shares, the blocking of bids, the buyback attempts, all of it. The question isn't whether laws were broken. The question is what the laws actually protect. November 2024. 40% of the remaining workforce is laid off. The company's entire drug research division is shut down. March 23, 2025. 23andMe files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Wojcicki resigns as CEO effective immediately. She remains on the board. 2 days later, the California Attorney General issues a public warning to all 23andMe customers. His advice, in 3 words: delete your data. You may already know how this ends. The CEO who ran the company into bankruptcy bought it back from the rubble. But here's what the headlines missed. In May 2025, pharmaceutical giant Regeneron wins the bankruptcy auction. Offer: $256 million. It looks like over. Then Wojcicki goes back to court. She claims a Fortune 500 company is backing her, with a market cap over $400 billion. She refuses to name it. The judge reopens the auction anyway. And here's the part nobody talks about. The vehicle she uses to buy back the company isn't an existing organization. It's a new nonprofit she created herself, called 23andMe Research Institute, a medical research entity that didn't exist a few months earlier, built for one purpose: to acquire the corpse of the company she just left. On July 2, 2025, Wojcicki wins. Final bid: $305 million. Every database, every customer record, the genomes of 15 million people, transferred to a nonprofit she built to receive them. Let's do the math. 23andMe had paid $400 million for Lemonade. Wojcicki paid $305 million for the entire company 4 years later, including everyone's DNA. A company once valued at $6 billion, sold to the woman who watched it collapse, for 5% of its peak value. So who killed 23andMe? Not the breach, not the SPAC market, not consumer fatigue. 23andMe was killed by a corporate structure that gave one person 49% of every vote, and the will to use it against every outside rescue. The board resigned in protest. The regulators warned. The state attorneys general raised alarms. And it didn't matter. By the time the system caught up, Wojcicki had already built her own nonprofit to receive the wreckage. The genomes of 15 million people transferred to an entity that didn't exist a year before, run by the same woman who lost the original company. The system isn't broken, it's just slow. By the time it caught up, your DNA was already in someone else's hands, including, maybe, yours. 23andMe isn't the only SPAC body in the morgue. We're already tracking the next investigation. A company that promised to revolutionize medicine went public at $20 billion and is now worth less than zero. In the meantime, if you ever sent your DNA to a testing company, the California Attorney General has advice in 3 letters: DELETE. Whether it's already too late? That's the next question. Tell us in the comments. Did you delete, or is your genome already gone?